Over the years, Winx Club has changed hands many times and has been dubbed by 6 different companies. Jesus. As such, there are many different voice casts, and which one is considered the best will depend on who you ask. However, I decided to envision what I would do if the series were to be redubbed from the very beginning, and I was able to cast whoever the hell I wanted, be they a returning actor from a previous dub, or another voice actor entirely. So now, I invite you to join me as I indulge in my delusions, discussing which actors I would pick for each character and why, starting with the first season. Does that seem simple enough? Oh, okay. Let's get the madness fucking started. Starting with Bloom, I initially wanted to stick with Lisa Jacqueline, her 4Kids voice.
Don't send me back home. I know I belong here. This is the most amazing place with the most awesome people ever.
Given I grew up with the 4Kids dub, Lisa's voice was my go-to for Bloom. She's honestly still my favorite actress for the role, given she's able to portray Bloom's cinnamon roll nature, but also does a very good job with emphasizing her fiery temper. However, there is an actress I think could capture these qualities equally well, if not better. Alexis Tipton.
Well, I would definitely say that Bloodsea is sort of unique in that it's a part of one giant franchise, but each section is different from the others.
I know Alexis primarily from her role as Princess Alicia in Tales of Zestiria, though her character is handled rather oddly, to put it nicely, in both the game and the anime adaptation. Alexis does a great job balancing Alicia's vulnerability and noble intentions.
You didn't even know who I was, and you helped me without asking anything in return. Whereas I thought only of myself, leaving you without even a name by which to call me. As a knight, I am ashamed.
It's rare I've been a fan of higher-pitched voices for Bloom, but around her normal range, I think Alexis could really pull off Bloom's more naive nature towards the start of the series, and do a great job at showing how she grows over the seasons.
Well, I would definitely say that Bloodsea is sort of unique in that it's a part of one giant franchise, but each section is different from the others.
And given Bloom does sing in later seasons, and since I prefer it when characters' voice actors sing, Alexis' singing voice is also a nice bonus.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
Next up, Kaitlyn Glass as Stella. My favorite voice for Stella has always been Jennifer Seguin from the Cinelume dub, namely because she nailed Stella's personality and more emotional moments across the series.
I see you're all ready to take my place, Chimera, but I'm afraid you and your scepter will never be up to the task!
Not to mention that having a deeper voice for a character like Stella is quite refreshing, honestly, given her archetype normally has a high-pitched, oftentimes nasally voice. Kaitlyn's voice not only hits the same range as Jennifer, but she's also great with characters who are witty and strong-headed, like Winry Rockbell from Full Metal Alchemist.
Well, you want to get to Central as soon as possible, right? Then I'll work my butt off for you.
And Rose from Tales of Zestiria.
Yeah, Hellions, blah blah, something powerful. I'm listening.
So for all of this, I would definitely cast Kaitlyn as the Fairy of the Sun and the Moon.
Well, you want to get to Central as soon as possible, right? Then I'll work my butt off.
Oh, also she sings, which is great, given Stella sings with Musa in Season 2.
Wandering free, wish I could be part of that world.
Now, as I've mentioned before, Flora's character is not the shy, soft-spoken stereotype a lot of people peg her as. She is the group mom. She is kind, sweet, and nurturing, but if you threaten her friends, she will crush you like a bug. So to me, it's always important to have a more mature, stronger voice for Flora. And also given that Flora's character aesthetic is that of a young Latina woman, I feel it's important to have a voice actress of that descent portraying her. Alejandra Reynoso fits the bill and did a pretty good job at voicing the character in the Nick dub, but I wasn't fond of the repetitive speech patterns and cadence she used, especially in the later seasons.
No, don't be sorry. I'm Flora. I think we're roommates.
Have you seen the way Helia is behaving? Icy did something to him. I just know it. He's not the same.
Ironically, Alejandra's normal voice is more suitable for Flora for me, but again, since we're going for new people for the main girls, I decided that in my dream universe, I would go for Seychelle Gabriel as Flora.
I'm glad you came with me to this meeting. Varric is one of the richest men in the world, and he controls the entire global shipping business.
She's definitely got the level-headed, mature voice a la her performance as Asami in The Legend of Korra. That, and she's also of Mexican descent, so we've got some representation covered here. And on that same principle, it was important to have Musa's voice actress be Asian American. However, I also wanted her to have a beautiful singing voice given how important music is to Musa's character, more so than any other who sings. While I love Romy Dame's performance in the Nick dub, that kinda knocked her out of the running. So after some Google McMoogling, I decided on Hayley Kiyoko as Musa.
Honestly, if I met Rachel McAdams, I'd be like shaking. Like if I saw her, I'd probably like hide. I probably wouldn't even say hi. Cause like, you know when you idolize someone so much, but it's like they will never know?
Now given I live under a rock, I had never listened to any of Hayley's music beforehand, but given she's got a wonderful voice and the roles she's had do suggest she could pull off Musa's chill attitude and occasional snark, I decided why not go for it. That and Hayley's a gay icon, so bonus points.
You and I sweat you know we're not together, but babe, I won't forget you. What I need is for you to be sure, na.
Do I know how much this would actually cost? No clue, but this is my crack dream, damn it. And finally, Elizabeth Maxwell as Tecna. RWBY fans may recognize Elizabeth as Winter Schnee.
But I'm choosing it now. I've made it my own, and I take great pride in it. That has nothing to do with Father or the General. That belongs to me.
Given how well Elizabeth is able to portray Winter's cold, militant personality with the faintest traces of vulnerability, I figured she would fit Tecna's character to a goddamn T. Oh wait, T. Oh no.
God damn it, Barb!
You've grown up a bit, haven't you? You're not the little girl clinging to the family name anymore.
We'll get through this pretty quickly. Honestly, I decided to stick with the Nickelodeon voices for 3/4 of the specialists. Adam Gregory does a pretty good job with portraying Brandon's laid-back attitude, and actually is pretty great with more dramatic moments.
I know, I saw. But sometimes you have to think about how other people feel. You're not a 3-year-old.
The same goes for Sam Riegel as Riven. He's fantastic at showing Riven's journey from being a douchebag to an actually decent guy who's trying to make up for his past behavior.
No, stay where you are, little fairies. This isn't a job for you.
And Charlie Schlatter as Timmy. I mean, come on, has there ever been a more perfect voice for Timmy?
Would you like to dance with me, Tecna?
No, I don't like to. It makes me feel kind of awkward.
Oh, well, that makes 2 of us then.
The only one whose voice I would recast is Skye, and for him, I went with Johnny Young Bosch. I actually really appreciated that the Cinelume dub gave Skye a lighter, raspier voice, as it fit his personality early on, and made him stand out from the other specialists. Bosch would be able to deliver that raspier, uncertain cadence of Skye in the first season, and show him growing as a confident leader as the series progresses.
Oh, right. I haven't introduced myself, have I? I'm Guy. I'm a servant in Duke Fabra's manor.
And again, this'll be quick, as virtually all the Alphea staff here are keeping their Nick voices. Carrie Walren is a fantastic Faragonda, Suzanne Blakesley is a great Griselda, and so on with Mitchell Whitfield as Palladium, Dee Bradley Baker as Whizgiz, and Lorraine Newman as Barbatea. You know, the librarian lady that hates everyone except for her books. Professor Dufour only has one real appearance at the very start of the series. Originally, I was pretty sure that Whizgiz killed her, but then she appears just fine in the next scene and then vanishes completely. But given she has lines, let's just go with Grey Delisle. She nails pretty much every role that she's in. Well, most of them. Bit of foreshadowing there. But basically just have her do her Queen Moon voice and we're good to go.
Well, I last remember it being in ruins, so it's nice.
Now, moving over to the Cloud Tower College for Witches, my friend Cinzy, hi Cinzy, actually pitched Catherine Tate as Headmistress Griffin. Or Head Witchtress, who even knows. But if you need a reminder of Catherine's talents...
Me? This is all you. Did you think you'd turn out different than me?
That's right, bitches. We would have Majka de Goddamn Spell as Griffin. She can handle the foreboding presence Griffin radiates when we first meet her, especially as she toys with the Winx when they sneak into Cloud Tower. The reason I replaced Grey, I kind of mentioned it before, but Grey is cast in so many roles that her voice is very easy to distinguish for me, and as much as I respect her performance, I just want something different. And as for the other 2 professors, I decided on Tara Platt as Edeltrude.
My witches 5, I command you to rise from the dead and
Curse the anomalies.
And Cindy Robinson as Zarathustra.
The foolish humans constantly remain at the mercy of all their ridiculous wants and whims. We can cause all those pathetic yearnings to spill out as a mass of energy.
And over at Red Fountain, we're gonna keep Renee Aberhorn, oh god, I don't know how to pronounce that text here, as Headmaster Saladin from the Nick dub. Namely because I had no real qualms with his performance. He's great.
Oh, she has ruined my exhibition.
Please forgive me, Saladin.
Though while I enjoyed Dave B. Mitchell's performance as Coded Torta in the Nick dub, I personally would have to go with Travis Willingham, who you probably know as Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist. Now, as for the tricks, I would personally have to go back to Lisa Ortiz as Icy. Granted, she's the Icy voice that I grew up with, so of course my bias is gonna play a big factor, but I feel she just nails the role better than any other actress who's had the role. Surprisingly, Lisa's cadence is pretty close to Icy's original Italian voice.
Quello era anche il tuo piano, non è vero? Toglierci definitivamente di mezzo. Come ti permetti?
Not to mention, Lisa's performance is quite ranged, working for when Icy is composed and chill. God damn it, but also when she flies off the handle and flies into a murderous rage.
You're gonna wish you never survived the destruction of Sparks!
Granted, she had to work with the 4Kids dialogue, but imagine the performance if she could fully embrace the diabolical Icy from the original version. Next, we move on to Darcy, and for this role, the choice was kinda obvious. Laura Bailey. Laura's got the sexy yet sinister energy down pat, exhibit lust.
Indeed, how very astute of you, Jean. But I doubt you've seen this one.
Darcy's never really had a voice that captures how truly mellow and relaxed she is, and I think Laura would do an excellent job in getting that across. Then we've got Stormy, and honestly, I have to stick with Kimberly Brooks from the Nick dub. Kimberly does a great job at communicating Stormy being incredibly violent and hot-headed, but also the youngest and most immature of the three witches.
You actually don't know, do you?
And finally, Patrick Seitz as Nut. Sights to see, I don't know. I know Seitz from his work as Zhao in Tales of Zillia, Heldolf in Tales of Zestiria, and Kunzite from the Viz dub of Sailor Moon.
It is you who are deranged if you think your silly attacks could possibly work here in my world.
He can handle Nut's deep voice and yells no problem, as well as his softer side as he realizes, oh shit, maybe working for these three psycho bitches who are bent on universe domination was a bad idea. This will be really simple to start with. Bloom's fam are keeping their Nick voices. James Patrick Stewart and April Stewart fit Mike and Vanessa perfectly.
You are everything to us. We loved you from the first moment we saw you, and we will never stop.
You will always be our daughter.
And I still love that they're so close to having the same surnames. And holy fuck, Elizabeth Gillies is the best voice Daphne has ever had.
Nobody can steal your past, your dreams, or your powers. You just have to look deep inside yourself.
Legitimately, she is the only celebrity voice in the Nick dub that I am all for, because the emotionality she gives to Daphne's character is just chef's kiss, chef's kiss. Likewise, I'm gonna be keeping Veronica Taylor as Diospro from the 4Kids dub.
That's funny, I didn't hear them announce me. Who do you think you are? Don't you dare question me! I will have you fired faster than you can say, sorry, your highness!
She's a voice acting legend and nailed Diospro's pompousness in season 1, but I feel she could also help with making her a more nuanced character in later seasons. I'm also gonna keep Peter M. Schwiller as Arendor, as I enjoyed his performance from the Nick dub.
Skye is going to be king of Heraklion. Hanging around here is his duty.
Wow, the Nick dub actually has a lot of great voices. Except for, like, the main 5. Well, the main 5 aren't terrible, but, like... Now, starting with the changes, Loren Landa as Mitzi. Loren has done a wonderful job as Sailor Neptune in the Viz dub of Sailor Moon.
We've really just about had it with your naivete.
She seems to really pull off sophisticated, courteous characters. So what if we took that and twisted it to match Mitzi's condescending, smarmy attitude? Next up, Erica Lindbeck as Myrta. Though I know Erica primarily from her role as...
The acclaimed, the illustrious, Majikiki Kambilu Dindo Dindo Laroon Do! Magilu for short.
I think her voice with a softer, less confident cadence could fit Myrta perfectly. And as for Lucy, I would have to go with Kathy Strassman. As her voice as Zalia from Huntic, another Rainbow show, I imagine would fit her like a glove.
I know it seems like this power is worth any cost, but listen, if those guys get scary and you need out, I'll be nearby.
And finally, we have the Narrator. Now, the narrator has always been Faragonda in the Italian version, whereas the narrator has seemed to change constantly during the Cinelume dub. And even in the Nick dub, though Carrie Walren voiced both the narrator and Faragonda, she used distinct voices for each for some reason. Voice direction, what was up with that? However, if I were to direct this, I would personally have Bartleby be the series narrator. You remember Bartleby, Oratel's scribe from the first movie who watches over the Book of Fate. Given he tells the story of the Winx in the movie, it only makes sense to me to have him be telling the fairy's story from day one. And for that role, I would go with Doug Stone, voice of Maven from Tales of Zestiria.
I just like to travel where I please, tracing the footsteps left in this.
Not only could his voice fit Bartleby's persona, but there's also a specific reason regarding Maven's character that I enjoy as an Easter egg, because I'm geek trash.
In a bygone age of myths, when darkness threatened to enshroud the world, it was they who reclaimed light from nothingness.
So that's all from me. If you enjoyed this random ass video and would like to see more content like this from me, then be sure to not only check out my other videos, but to also subscribe and ring that bell for notifications because YouTube hates creators. And also please consider pledging your support if you are willing and able to myself and the channel over on Patreon. I'm the Unicorn of War, and God help us all through 2020.